Look, I know what you're all thinking. Spotify ruined music forever. That sounds like the kind of title a guy puts on a video when he just wants views and has nothing real to say. And honestly, super fair. But stick with me for a second, because this isn't really just about Spotify. I mean, Spotify is just this face we put on something that's been happening for a while in the collective streaming universe, the CSU that I like to call it. Something that changed not just how we listen to music, but how music itself gets made, who makes it, and whether albums as an art form even have a future. And I think the moment it all started to unravel is simpler than you'd expect. It started when we decided music wasn't worth paying much for. If you saw one of my previous videos, I talked a lot about piracy and how LimeWire was very much ahead of its time. Look, think about what it means to buy an album, not stream it, not add it to a playlist, actually walk into a store like Best Buy, Target, or maybe even now the abandoned Circuit City. You can pick it up, look at the cover, read the back, and hand over $15, maybe $20 for it in the past, which is like $50 today when adjusted for inflation. It's like picking out a book or renting a movie at Blockbuster. And if I had a nickel for every time I mentioned Blockbuster in a video, boy, I'd be rich by now. Like and subscribe, by the way. That money meant something, because once you spent it, you were committed. You were going to listen to that album, all of it. There was no takesy backsies, the intros, the interlude, the slow tracks in the middle that didn't get you at first, the songs that didn't have any features on them, and then you were going to listen to it again. You gave it time because you already gave it your money. And that's how track 9 became your favorite song, not because it was the designated single to be pushed out on TikTok, not because a Spotify playlist served it to you, but because you had no choice but to listen, and when you did, it hit differently. Unless, of course, you heard the song on the radio first and then you realized the rest of the album was complete dog shit, which I've heard a lot of people have went through before. Not me personally, I have impeccable music taste, but that is not the point. There was also something about the physical object itself, the album covers, the artwork. Artists designed albums to be held, looked at, read. There was this whole world inside of that little booklet that most people under 25 have never experienced. Those same booklets used to come with video games, but that's another discussion for another video, maybe another day, we'll see. But now you pay one flat monthly fee and you have access to virtually every album ever recorded, ever made, which sounds incredible in theory, and in a lot of ways it is. But here's the thing about having access to everything: you end up committing to nothing, or just to very little of it. When there's no monetary loss to bouncing off an album, people bounce, and we do it constantly now. 3 songs in, it's not grabbing you, you're already on to the next album. No harm, no foul. Nobody's sitting with the slow burn anymore, because why would you? It would literally cost you nothing to leave and find some better songs, and artists have figured that out fast. If listeners are making a decision in the first 30 seconds of whether to stay or whether to skip, you better make those first 30 seconds count. So intros get shorter, hooks move to the top, the slow build, the patient storytelling. Another thing that I've noticed in so many artists is not showing who may be featured on a song a certain amount of hours before the album is actually released, so you don't go and listen to the songs with the most names that you recognize on it. And I do kind of appreciate that. I do like that a lot. I mean, look at the average length of songs in 2010s. The average song was around 4 minutes, maybe 4.5 minutes, but by the 2010s, it dropped closer to 3, and that's not a coincidence. That's artists and labels responding to the streaming data in real time, optimizing music in the same way that tech companies optimize an app. Every decision is calculated and for a reason. And I say this as someone who plays music and works in tech. There is a real craft in building an album that takes you somewhere, a beginning, a middle, an end, tension, and release. That craft is quietly disappearing because the platform doesn't really reward it. Okay, so here's where Spotify actually does something that is kind of genius and kind of sinister at the same time. Discover Weekly. Daily mixes, radio based on artists you already like. On the surface, it feels like the platform is working for you and in your favor. It actually shows and knows your taste and is out here finding hidden gems on your behalf. That could be true for some. However, think about what's actually happening. Your algorithm isn't really expanding or broadening your taste, it's reflecting it back at you like an echo chamber. Every recommendation is based on what you already listened to, which means the further you go down, the more and more you're just hearing a variation of the same thing in a slightly different order. I mean, how many of you have used the Spotify DJ or shuffle feature and it's just playing the same 7 songs again and again every time? I mean, I've started getting exhausted with music, and when I'm like, there's like nothing to listen to, to. You used to discover music by accident. A friend would burn you a CD with something random on it. You heard a song in a movie and had to hunt it down. You went to a record store with $25 and took a chance on something because the cover looked interesting. That was the real discovery. It was unpredictable. Sometimes it missed, but when it hit, it genuinely expanded who you were as a listener. I was playing a game called Dispatches, which is like this episodic based game where you do a narrative and you make different decisions. It's not really like a too heavy of a game. It's basically a TV show, but you get to make the decisions every once in a while. And at the end of one of the episodes, they had this song called Pound Cake, and I really liked the vibe. And I went on YouTube to search the song up, and all the comments were like, "Who's here from Dispatch?" And I was like, yeah. And then I added it to my Spotify playlist. I really like that song. So shout out Dispatches. They put me onto a new song. Yeah, but now discovery is like a feature. It's a curated, monetized, engagement optimized feature designed to keep you on the platform as long as possible. And the music that gets surfaced isn't necessarily the most interesting. It's the music that performs well in the algorithm, which is a completely different thing. So you're not really discovering music anymore. You're being fed music. And after a few years of that, you look up and realize that your tastes really haven't grown. You just got more, I guess, specific. Like, look at your Spotify rap from the past 5 years. It's probably the same. I don't know about you, but I do always have like those 1 or 2 artists that are always in my top 5, right?
Dude, Spotify rap just dropped all top 5 by artist Drake. I didn't even listen to one song.
I only listen to country music and all mine are Drake. How'd that happen?
I don't even have Spotify and all of mine are Drake.
Okay, let's talk about the part no one really wants to sit with, the money. And this is for all streaming apps. Spotify pays about 0.003 to 0.005 cents per stream. So to make a single dollar, you need to be streamed roughly 200 to 300 times. And to make minimum wage in a month, you need somewhere in the neighborhood of 300,000 streams every single month. Now let's be real here for a second. Most artists aren't making anywhere close to that. I mean, popular artists are not most artists. Drake is not most artists. Taylor Swift is not most artists. And these artists who are pulling those numbers, they're usually signed to labels who take a percentage and a significant cut before the artist ever sees any. The people actually making the music, writing the lyrics, spending weeks in the studio, they're often walking away with almost nothing from streaming. Now, compare that to the CD era. You sell tens of thousands of copies of an album at $15. Even after the label's cut, you're looking at serious money. Money that funds the next album. Money that funds a nice car, money that lets you keep making music without a day job. But most artists have to tour 24/7 now to make real money, and we know how expensive those concert tickets can be. Ticketmaster video coming soon, maybe. I don't know. I don't want to rehash that all again, but that pipeline is basically gone now, which means the artists who survive in this economy are either independently wealthy, backed by major record labels with deep pockets, or they're just grinding multiple income streams to justify continuing. Touring, merch, the sync licensing, brand deals, the music itself is almost a loss leader at this point to sell everything else about being a pop star or music artist. And what does that mean long term? It means that we're slowly filtering out the artists who can't afford to keep going, the ones who needed that album money to stay in the game. All right, so let's get back to the thesis of it all. Did Spotify ruin music forever? And here's my honest answer. Spotify didn't ruin music, we did. And yeah, I know the title is a bit of clickbait. Spotify built exactly what we asked for. We wanted cheap, we wanted instant, we wanted everything in one place with no commitment and no friction. It was either steal the music and labels make nothing, or sell the music with a subscription, and they delivered. So did Apple Music, so did Tidal, so did every other streaming platform that followed. They all built the same thing because it's what we all wanted. The inconvenient truth is that we decided music wasn't worth paying for anymore, and the entire industry restructured itself around that decision. But here's why I give you some hope, because it's not all gone. Vinyl sales have been climbing every year for a decade now. People are buying records again. They're buying it because something in them recognizes that music is worth the ritual, worth the commitment, worth the skin in the game. Me, myself, if an album is worth it and I really like it, I'll buy a CD version of it because the CD is going to be highly uncompressed and it's going to sound great in your car. My Mustang still has a CD player and I love that feature. Some creators are going independent. Heck, a lot more creators are going independent nowadays, building direct relationships with their audiences, releasing music on their own terms. The tools to make music have never been more accessible. The ability to reach an audience has never been more direct. So the infrastructure is there for something better, but it only works if we decide music is worth something again. Worth our attention, worth our money, worth sitting with track 9 long enough to find out why is the best song in the album. That part's on us. So has Spotify ruined music? Let me know down in the comments, or Apple Music. I don't know. I feel like Spotify came first, so let me know what you all think. More videos coming soon. Leave a comment what you'd like to see next, and I appreciate you all. Thank you.